following is a special presentation. From the Captain Esports Network.
This isn't just a game. This is iRacing. All right, here we go, Darlington Raceway. Unfortunately, having some technical issues here over on my side as we welcome you in over on the YouTube page only right now, but I do have the link shared over on the Facebook pages of Sim500 and the Captain Esports Network. Usually we use a third-party app to broadcast our streams on Sunday and Monday nights, but unfortunately, looks like there might be some kind of connection issue going on with that. So we apologize, and here we are, ready to go from Darlington Raceway. It is the Southern 200. It is race number 19 of this Sim500 NCA11.org Cup Series season. As we get closer and closer to the playoffs kicking off, and we get ready for 200 miles of racing around the Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame. The track with a lot of nicknames, basically, here at Darlington. 1.366 mile egg-shaped oval that has produced some of the best racing in the history of stock car racing, and you get to see more of it here tonight on the Captain Esports Network. The Captain with you, as always. We get ready for qualifying. It's going to be coming up here quickly. Kevin England will be with us here. Of course, Kevin is ready to rock and roll here from the Darlington Raceway. The points, as we look at those, it's been another Kevin who's been taking the show by storm. 8 straight wins for Kevin King, 11 on the season. He has a 123-point lead. Tyler Dalton, Chad Coleman, Justin Fuller, your top 5 in the points, Kevin. Darlington is a tricky little monster.
Yeah, from Indianapolis to Darlington, 2 veteran racetrack favorite. If you're a driver that's been around the circuit for a period of time, you like this racetrack. Right. Indy is a little bit different, but this place, like a comfortable pair of shoes. Now, it's hard to race, no doubt, but I think that there's a couple guys who know how to get around here. And, well, how can we say this in a different way that doesn't sound any different from the previous weeks? There's one mission here tonight. Somebody wants to beat Kevin King. He's just been unstoppable. This is the type of racetrack that is going to yield to some of these veterans and give them the opportunity, Chris, and I think we're going to see a pretty good race here tonight, the Lady in Black.
Yes, we will. As always, you see the point standings. Looking at the bubble down here at the 20th position, Cody Giles has been sitting there, even though he's been missing races. However, with the drops and everything, the way they're lined up, he's sitting in 20th in points right there, but I think that'll change here after tonight. As you see, 14 starts, 14 races counted, so now his races will start counting for missed races if he is not here tonight, amongst others. So a lot of things that can transpire tonight when the playoffs get here. But first, we have to get to that race number 26, which is still a long ways away here. But first, the Southern 200. 200 miles, 147 laps here, Kev, as the cars are out here on track. Seth Foudy, one of the first ones out on track here in this number 11. Of course, we ran this race earlier this season, and it was a daytime race. Here tonight, it is a nighttime race here at Darlington.
Yeah, Foudy is up in that groove where we know you're going to get a Darlington stripe. We come off of turn number 2 down to the back straightaway, bounces off the wall. Just going to keep his foot planted in it as Pedro Mojica goes to the top of the board, followed by another veteran, Jose Gonzalez, Mark Jorgensen, who's been lighting it up lately. He's in third right now as Foudy comes off turn 4 to bring it back to the checkered flag here. We're going to see where Mr. King slots in. Can he win another pole here tonight at Darlington?
As Kevin comes off to the back straightaway here, of course, you see Mojica, the winner last night in Atlanta, on the pole right now to 28.86 as Kevin King has left pit road and gets himself warmed up here. Let's see if he can win himself another pole. He's, I think, at 14 right now, if I look at the numbers here correctly, as he goes for number 15 this season. I mean, he's been by far the best driver in the league numbers-wise. And, of course, we've had the people make the comments, and even in our race chats, when I stick the YouTube shorts and stuff up, they'd be like, well, he's a pro driver, or a former pro driver, he's expected to do this. You still got to run the race. I mean, there's a reason that a race is 147 laps. Doesn't mean he's going to go dominate the thing as he crosses the start-finish line. And he is second right now, 28.9 behind Mojica. Now, the one thing I will share, Kev, is he has not done it the same way every time. We've talked about this a lot as he gets way loose off turn 2. And
tonight, that is going to kill his second lap.
But I was just starting to say, it's not like he's done it the same way every week. It's been different. It's been either he's had to come through the field or pit strategy, or last week in Indianapolis, he just happened to dominate. It's been different. It's not like he's winning every race the same.
Yeah, and then that is leading to the utility of the driver. I mean, he could come from the back. He could come from the front. He can dominate and drive away. But whatever it is, it's about race strategy. And we've heard him talk week after week after having the opportunity to talk to him. He has the race locked up before he starts. He knows exactly how he's going to do it. And yes, the dynamic part of the race changes his strategy, but he's able to compensate, adapt, conquer, and he's just been unbeatable.
And we'll see if he can pull that off here tonight again at Darlington, as right now he's on the outside pole and everybody's pretty much already run their laps. We still have a minute to go. I do not see another car coming out to run a qualifying lap out of the 30 or so cars that are going to start here tonight at Darlington. Looks like Pedro Mojica is going to get himself another pole, as he got last night's pole at Atlanta, which he went to victory lane. Will it happen again here tonight? As it looks like he will start on the pole. Thanks to 811, know it's below, and Call Before You Dig. We appreciate them sponsoring the pole award throughout the season. Of course, all their hard work that they do to support this league and stuff with both the Xfinity and Cup Series schedule. Well, let's go ahead and take advantage here and step away, get the national anthem, and we'll get ready to go racing. The Lady in Black, the Southern 200, coming up here in moments. First, we go trackside.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, right, back we are here, Darlington, the Southern 200. You see the flagman waving the checker, and done with the warm-up session as we will get ready to go racing here at the track Too Tough to Tame as we hit the music and we get you ready. The starting lineup here at Darlington Raceway. Believe this or not for you, Kev, I got this one for you. The now second place in polls this season, the part-timer, Pedro Mojica, his second pole this season. He's the only second guy that have more than one pole this season. Of course, we know who the other one is. Jose Gonzalez in row 2. He'll start next to Nelson Rivera. Kevin King, by the way, starting second. Mike Kelly, Eric Arnold in row number 3. Kelly had a great run last night at Atlanta going before he had some issues technical-wise that cost him a top 20 finish. Anthony Calantoni squeaked into the playoffs finals last night in Atlanta. He starts 7th alongside Mark Jorgensen Jr. looking to get that first win. Justin Mons, he's been on a little bit of a tear here recently. Kevin DeBrown on the outside of row 5. Stoney Benfield, Chad Coleman there in row number 6. Stoney, somebody rattled the pastor last week, and he was a little mad after the race. Let's hope it's not the same tonight. Seth Foudy, Bobby Wetzel at row 7. Row 8, David Comstock, Charles Van Schaik, Scott Simley, Wesley Donaldson there, row 9. Richard Beasley and Josh Parker, row 10. Patrick Colby, Joey Jatina, row number 11. Row 12, Mike Montesi and Matt Rondolasso batted away. All of these guys here did not run qualifying laps. That's why you're seeing them lined up by their I rating. Randy Oakham, Joe Hudson, Kevin Stone, Bob Gillenwater making a rare Cup Series appearance. Doug Sigmund, Brian Wortman, Mark Schrader, your 31 cars. 147 laps, 200 miles, 3 sets of tires, 2 overtimes, and a green flag coming up here very shortly here from the Southern 200 here at the Darlington Raceway. As we get closer and closer to the playoffs here, still got a few races left. Who is going to make their mark and make that run? Of course, with the drop weeks included, there's a little bit of mess in there, so to say, because, you know, obviously you never know how many points you really got to gain or whatnot, but we'll see. Kevin England, let's bring him into the green flag, my friend.
Now, turns get really narrow over there at 1 and 2. Green flag out. King, Mojica, Rivera, and Kelly head to turn 1 for the first time. We'll see who is going to come out the other side. King hangs tough to the outside there, side by side. Out of turn number 2 to the backstretch. Mojica would love to clear and get that clean air. It is so tough to go side by side into turn 3. Let's see who's going to be the braver of the two. Is King going to come from the outside, pull around, and it'll be King, Mojica, and the 22 of Nelson Rivera coming back to lap number 1.
As King will lead that lap, Mojica, as you mentioned right there, Nelson Rivera with a great start up to the 3rd position. As you mentioned, it's Kelly and Eric Arnold up there, top 5. Our cameras tonight presented by TrackCams22.com. Check them out online on Facebook and the iRacing forums at TrackCams22.com. Jose Gonzalez missed the start as Mojica goes for the lead to the inside. Trying to get that run as the red cars battle it out here. Pedro wants the lead. Kevin holds him off and leads lap number 2. But needless to say, Pedro putting the pressure on Gonzalez must have missed the start. That's why he is starting in the pits.
That's too bad for Pedro, as he showed good speed in both practice and
qualifying. Oh, Joe Hudson.
Oh.
Hudson has crashed front straightaway. Sorry, lap 2. And caution going to come out for the 43. And what's his sponsor tonight? He's got a million sponsors.
Apothic Tea.
Is that right? Apothic? Oh, that's above my pay grade for wording.
Yeah, just broke loose out of turn number 4. Tires are cold. It's going to take a couple laps for them to come through. If you stomp on the throttle while yanking it left to keep it off the wall as it drifts up out of turn 4, that's a pretty easy maneuver to do. And Joe grabbed it, but unfortunately as cars were going by, they pulled that yellow flag, and we're going to be under caution here for the first time tonight in Darlington.
Hit that rear diffuser back there against the wall. Don't see much damage on it, so I think he did okay, just kind of scraping the outside wall. You wonder if it was a little bit of tight loose, maybe 4th gear. We shall see. Let's go on board. You will hear the word shifting here tonight. As you see, he's already 4th gear down the back straightaway here. Going 3 wide as Stoney Benfield kind of falling back there as he splits it there with Joey Jatina, who gets out of it too. He thought he was 3 wide there for a moment and was. And that's where, the back end just comes around, unfortunately. A little kiss of the wall, straightens him back out. And caution out for the first time here. And look at this, half the field in the back, about a third, I should say. Going to come to pit road here, probably topping off the fuel tank because, well, it wouldn't be a race if I didn't talk about fuel mileage sometime tonight. So let's do it right at lap 4. And depending on tire wear and how that goes here tonight, we could be looking at a 1 versus 2 stop race again.
This is good karma for the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. He was 1 lap down. He's going to circle around and be the lucky dog early on. So it gives him the opportunity to push the reset button. He's not going to be up in the front of the field if he qualified, but at least he's going to be chasing from the back and be able to be in contact with some of these cars and start making his way forward.
Obviously, going to need a little help from the viewers here tonight with the issues that we had with the streaming. Obviously, haven't been able to. We usually stream straight to the Facebook pages of the Captain Esports Network and Sim500. Tonight, kind of the old school way. The link is there, and you can actually go there and click the link or send them there if you want to. If you know anybody over there on the Facebook page or over in the, wherever. Get the link to that person so that they can come and join us here at the Darlington Raceway as the pace car lights are not going to go out. We'll get one more lap before the green flag here. But you mentioned one big point here. They're not used to nighttime racing here at Darlington. So you can only imagine that how they're just not used to seeing the tires come up to temp that quick.
Yeah, it's one of those things where even if you're most of the way through a run, every once in a while you come up out of the corner. That's why this racetrack is so challenging. It does something a little different than you expect, and he's not the first one to ship it over there in turn 4. Usually you could spin down to the bottom of the racetrack if you could keep it off the inside wall, be able to grab a gear and drive out of it, but the sim was going to pull a caution there, and yeah, we get to reset, but I think this is one of those racetracks that when they get going after a period of time and they stretch out, we're going to see some green flag racing, and then we're going to have to see who has long run speed.
So let's go back to May 13th, 2024. That was earlier this season. The first race that we had here at Darlington, that was a 148 lapper because obviously we went into overtime that night. Unfortunately, 12 cautions in that race where Kevin King went to victory lane leading 77 out of 148 laps. Justin Fuller led 61 laps in that race tonight, and I look for Justin Fuller. He is not here tonight. Am I blind or not seeing his name?
No, I don't believe he
Okay.
made the call tonight, as it's vacation season, and every once in a while we're going to be missing a couple people.
Yep. Wesley Donaldson finished 3rd, Justin Mons 4th in that race, and Mike Kelly finished 5th in that race. So obviously there were cautions in that race, but as they always say, when it's like that in one race, sometimes the other is not the same. So we shall see when it's all over with here this evening. We appreciate those who have come out to hang out with us this evening as Kevin King brings them back to the green flag. Pedro Mojica 2nd, Nelson Rivera 3rd. That speed, energy, number 2 of Mike Kelly 4th, Eric Arnold, your top 5. Here at lap number 8 after a solo spinneroonie from the 43 of Joe Hudson. Green flag back out as King launches, gets a good restart. Mojica, though.
The most nervous things to do, go down into turn 1 and wonder where people are going to check up, whether they're going to go in, whether they're going to brush the wall. Oh, look at this battle down the backstretch for the lead.
Mojica did exactly what Kevin did. It got stuck right on his right rear and didn't allow Kevin to slide up the track. And now Pedro's going to get the lead, but Kevin's going to roll the bottom here. Let's see if Pedro can clear off the top side. He should carry the momentum here. A little side draft, put some air on him, a little contact maybe.
He's going to go down and cover that quarter panel, make sure that he isn't able to get to the side, dump air on that spoiler. They're going to run that top groove turn down here to the back straightaway. We'll see if Pedro has enough. He had a little tiny wiggle. That's going to allow the 29 to draw alongside. They're dead even going into turn 3.
Kevin's going to throw it in there into turn 3 and 4 and clear for the lead. So move the 29 back to the front. At lap 8, these two swapping the lead already. Good stuff there from Mojica and Kevin King. Mike Kelly already up to the third position. By this point yesterday at the Legacy Atlanta Motor Speedway, he started like in Macon and found his way to the lead within like 5 laps. It was pretty amazing watching Mike. They're leaning on each other up front as Pedro side drafts for the lead.
Yeah, Pedro got to that quarter panel like we were talking about, trying to pull Kevin back. Didn't get there quite fast enough, but he's still right there. He's going to pull up to that left rear wheel, drag Kevin back if he could do it. Kevin chops him down coming into turn 3, and he's going to sail it off, be able to run up high against the wall, turn it down. Oh, that's turn 2. Where am I at?
That's the old turn 4. You're kind of right.
Yeah, kind of. Not really. But thanks.
We're right on board with Mark Jorgensen. It's kind of funny. There was a little trick there by Mojica for those who are not too experienced in iRacing or wanting to learn a little bit. Notice how Pedro stayed in line and kind of had the run going to the corner. The trick is if you can get to the left or right rear of a car and push air on the car to slow it down, side draft otherwise known as, going into the corner, it can actually shoot you out and get you a run into the corner and make the pass. You see a lot of that on like Vegas, like Texas Motor Speedway and tracks like that from the Cup guys and even the Xfinity guys. You watch the racing real closely, you'll see little tricks like that. You'll even see cars down the straightaways. They'll be side by side. You'll hear the inside car kind of check up like for a split second just to get to the left rear to back that car off going into the corner. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
I've seen it. It's something I just kind of caught my eye to, and then I saw Pedro do it there. I'm like, oh, the tricks.
Oh, sorry for the stove. I look at this and I say, boy, what a technical racetrack. You come down the front stretch, you drive down. Almost everybody goes below the hash marks down to what was the original racetrack. You really have to get off of turn 2 properly.
Bob Gillenwater and Randy Yoakum are tied up over here on the front straightaway. Yoakum is stopped. Gillenwater's towed. So did Yoakum. We stay green because, well, they were they were on the track, but I think everybody got past.
Yeah, they just got locked together, the two of them coming up out of the corner there.
Both of them ended up towing the pit road here. No caution. We stay green. Bob Gillenwater making that rare start in a 40 car, and that the Junior Diabetes Research Foundation at number 40. And, of course, that, argy-bargy everywhere here. Kevin Stone and Yoakum come together, and Gillenwater ends up getting the worst of a bad situation there, unfortunately, Kev.
Yeah, it looks like Montucci got loose on entry. I'm not sure if he had a little bump there, but that caused everybody to stack up and resulted in that incident. And boy, that's just frustrating for Gillenwater, who making an unusual start, but glad to see him back in the series. Hopefully he'll get it sorted out and come back out and run some more laps with us tonight.
So 16 laps complete. Here is Jorgensen leads, and you see Rivera and Mons leaning on each other side by side for position. That is a battle for the 5th spot. Mons has the position. Rivera kind of going down on that door a little bit side. And remember back in the day, you never did that move right there. And then you really never did this move.
You touch that apron, it gets loose up out of the corner. It's really difficult. Out in front of them, they're having a contest for 3rd. So you got a battle for 3rd, battle for 4th.
Yeah,
that's the 88 is going around to 3rd.
One of the tricks right there, and this is more of a take advantage move. Rivera and Mons were side by side going into the corner. That almost worked out for Calantoni and Arnold. Usually that 3rd car in lane will get a super run down the straightaway and go 3 wide and make the pass on both of you. Kind of like Indianapolis we talked about last week. Turn 2 is a lot like that.
Now they've kind of settled in nose to tail. A couple contests if you would have Mons. I'll tell you, I'm so impressed with Justin. He's come to race the last quarter here. His car has lit up. He's become a top 5 contender, and the Ancient World Gaming Camaro has been fast about every week.
Yeah, he's really, I don't know if it's a practice thing or if it's just a momentum of tracks, but that 41 car has come to life here these last 2 or 3 weeks. A 2nd place finish a couple weeks ago. Had, I think a top 5 last week at Indianapolis. So he's definitely been putting the run on here a little bit in that 41 car, running in the 6th position. Eric Arnold right there in 7th. Calantoni, Wesley Donaldson, David Comstock already sliding into the top 10 here as we complete lap 19. And the one thing that I am just happening to look at is the top 9 cars, Kev. Make that the top 12 cars. All less than 0.3 of a second off of each other.
Yeah, nobody's really driven away. The gaps have maintained pretty consistent as Tony just moved around the 31. Now he's on the attack for the 22, working down underneath the
Yikes!
22. Wow, that was... I tell you, it takes some real...
Oh, you could say it.
I'll let you fill in the blank there.
Guts?
I got to give a call to, I don't... Okay.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Donaldson, I said the name out loud. Boy, he's just had a yo-yo of a season. To be sitting here in the top 9th last week, got caught up in somebody else's mess, and I think he's just biding him time, looking as hyper-vigilant as he can be about the front and the back, trying to make sure that nothing goes wrong tonight. He just needs to see a checkered flag.
Was that Hyper?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Hyper-vigilant. What?
Hyper-vigilant, yes.
All right.
Not for race cars. There goes Donaldson down underneath the move to Eric Arnold. Arnold's going to ease out of it a little bit. I think Donaldson's going to be able to move up and execute that pass, take over the 8th position.
So Donaldson moves up a spot as Kevin shows off his NJIT work that he's had. Yeah, you didn't think I knew about that college, did you?
NJIT.
The New Jersey Institute of Technology.
As Mr. Mojica has not lost the chase for the 2nd place position. He's sitting there comfortably about 2 car lengths, and I have to wonder, on the long run speed we talked about.
Oh, Tony has crunched the wall off too.
Oh no.
That was a stripe.
Maybe hustling a little bit too much.
Yeah, carry on. Just a Darlington stripe.
But just saying, you know, in the context of Pedro, it's probably more beneficial for him to lay back just a little bit so he has air on the nose for the turn in. If you're up under the bumper, the car does not turn in, you shove the right side tires and you'll burn them off. So for him to lay back a little bit and just wait, I'm sure he'd rather be out front and have the clean air, but he has not lost contact with Kevin King. Kevin is not driving off like usual.
Mark Jorgensen there in the 3rd position, but yeah, you mentioned Pedro, and I had...
Yeah, the 88 is holding his own there as he's just kind of riding, trying to make his time, and he too is sitting right there behind the 58, about the same distance as the 58's hanging behind the 29. So a lot of laps to race tonight. We're working lap number 25. There's going to be 147 laps in this race, and for this first stint, because it can be a long green flag run, you got to make sure you take care of your stuff. So I think they're pretty comfortable sitting in here and riding. They just don't want that 29 to ride away.
Which, of course, I asked the question. I was starting to ask the question there for a second. Is this a situation where everybody is saving right now? Is it a matter of this track has a lot of grip in it because it's a night race with a fixed setup in this kind of car, so everybody's running close together? Is it a matter of everybody's doing a good job of just maintaining speed here? I'm kind of curious of where, King's obviously starting to pull out a little bit, 0.7 of a second. Mojica about 0.6 up on Jorgensen, but mostly everybody else is still kind of on top of another within a 10th. Is it the draft being overpowering at this track? I mean, something is keeping these cars together.
Yeah, I think you're pretty comfortable here. The track is, I don't want to say it's every lap is different. How you go into the corner, much like the way we talked about Indianapolis. You run these corners differently. The big open egg shape turns 1 and 2, and the narrow, tight, try to keep it off the wall 3 and 4. But you run into 1, you ease up through the middle of 1 and 2, and then you turn down and run off of 4 to get the speed to the backstretch. You almost jam the brakes on the entry to turn 3, float up as far as you can for the wall, and then square it off and try to get the run to the front straightaway. So that is a characteristic. We're not at Indy, but it's very similar to that. It does almost like have 4 apexes, Chris, when you run this place.
That's
and if you're comfortable because of the amount of banking they have, if you go in too shallow and you miss it, you could slide up a little bit. If you miss the turn in and you're up high, you could ride the high side. So from that standpoint, lap times are fairly consistent if you know how to compensate for missing a corner.
You really think they're comfortable at Darlington?
Well, the funny thing about it is when we talk about in contrast to Indy last week, if you miss the corner, you have to wait and
Right.
wait and wait, and then you're dead on the straightaway. Here, I think there's a little bit more for you to be able to overcome your difficulties. But I think we're going to see tire wear play a factor. I think some of these cars are going to skate. I think they're going to stop turning. And in the long run, the drivers that took care of their stuff are going to start to come to the front.
Turn 4 is one of the trickier corners here at this track too, and I bring up these seams a lot. Those tar seams that you see right there in the middle of the track for where the segments break up of the track when it's been repaved and stuff like that. Turn 4, I've always found it you almost have to try to be straight off the corner. You do not want to be turning your wheel as you come off of turn 4 because it'll bring the back end around. You can almost bring that to the Joe Hudson spin just a few minutes ago. But watch these cars, you will notice they will have the wheel almost straightened out by the time they come across those seams off of turn 4 because it can be very tricky. Yes, turn 2 is turn 2. Let's be real here and explain that turn 2 at Darlington is not a slouch right here. But turn 4 is one of those trickier corners too that you cannot basically underestimate. As here's Comstock looking inside on the 31 of Eric Arnold, the reciprocal of the 31 looking to the inside.
Yeah, Arnold loose off the top side as the 13 and the 31 run side by side. Still contesting that position is Comstock going to get the drive in and have the 38 follow the hole, try to make the pass. Right behind him, man, he is not let up.
Oh, there's that run. Look at it, and see who takes advantage. Bobby Wetzel takes 2 positions right there.
Here comes Josh Parker on the charge.
That right there is the product of turn 2 at Darlington. I talked about you just get checked up, and all of a sudden, Kevin DeBrown was too close to Coleman, had to get out of it, and here comes Bobby Wetzel. Give me 2 as he takes 2 positions away through the corner there. That is the product of being side by side here at this track. It's 1.6 seconds now from Kevin King to Pedro Mojica, and we'll step away for a quick break, come back, get you more racing here from Darlington on the Captain Esports Network.
This tree is going to look great here.
Did you call 811 to protect your underground utilities?
I can't wait to see these roses come up.
Dig, dig, dig! Wait, we forgot to call 811.
Before you dig, make sure you can. Call 811 to know what's below. It's up to all of us to protect the ones we love.
Back with you at the Darlington Raceway. It is race number 19 of the Sim500 NCA11.org Cup Series, the Southern 200. And it's Kevin King who's been out front for most of the lap. Seeing Pedro Mojica has swapped the lead a couple times. And, of course, Kevin leads by 1.7 seconds now. Mojica 2.2 over Mike Kelly, who's now up to 3rd. Justin Mons up to 4th. And Wesley Donaldson to 5th as Mark Jorgensen has started to fall back in that 88 car. And this mess back here, just they cannot get away from each other. Eric Arnold, David Comstock, Anthony Calantoni, Chad Coleman, Bobby Wetzel, Josh Parker. Let's see, who else is in there? Seth Fowdy. Bob Gillenwater's actually up in there. He's got damage, and he's a few laps down. But he's having some fun in this battle, too, it looks like.
Yeah, this is a caution, and it just doesn't know it yet. They were sideways up before last time. I thought that if it hadn't been Josh Parker down there, I would have wondered about that. As the 9 of Bobby Wetzel had a handful coming out. I think Josh Parker is going to try and just claw his way through here. It's still early enough for him to be a factor in this, as he seems to be following in the tire tracks of Coleman as they're working on the 84. Yeah, it's time to say Kevin has lit the afterburner. He's almost 2 seconds out. He's got one car sitting in front of him, the 74.
Brian Wortman, yep.
And he was able to just roll around Brian, and now Pedro's going to get to him. So
the guy who is unfortunately got the parachute out is Mark Jorgensen right now, and you wonder, tire wear coming into play here. Jorgensen is just free falling through the field as he has lost about 3 or 4 positions here these last couple laps, and he's just trying to almost stay out of his own way here, as they like to say on this kind of track, as he's got Gillenwater to his inside now. Wetzel's there. Foudy's all the way back to the 12th position. Mark was just in 3rd literally a few laps ago, and unfortunately that car is falling off the pace here handling wise. Not sure if he's handling too tight or too loose. I think a good way to find this out, Kev, let's go on board with this number 84 or 88 and let's watch the wheel. He's keeping it straight there on the straightaway, brings it down to the corner, out of the gas. It doesn't look like too much wheel, and I don't see him fighting it to the right, so that must tell me he's got to be fighting tight here. Oh yeah, look at that wheel crank.
Yeah, he's got to turn. He's running the bottom line, which tends to grate the right front off when you go into turn 3 and 4. A lot of drivers will lay on that brake coming in and turn in on the high line to try and save the right front tire. It seems to be okay here in turns 1 and 2 as he turns down right here.
Too early.
And just clip that apron, but I think when you have a tight car, you want to be down lower so you could use all the racetrack to turn out of it. But he is running the low line down here, unlike everybody else. So you see the Calantoni car way up high. And, who was that? Just
Comstock, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Comstock with a nice Darlington stripe. Yeah, I mean, I see. Oh, him and Seth. I see your point there on Jorgensen. I guess my immediate reaction is, whoa, that's way too early, dude. You're not gonna be able to make the corner when you turn it down. That because you're literally sliding the right front and even the left front tire through turn 2. The way that car cuts through that corner, if you're too low, you're just sliding across the track and almost cheese grating it.
Yeah. There's another side of this, and far be it from us to try and Monday morning quarterback that
right.
from sitting here, but you will find drivers who will drop back and then miraculously in the last part of about 65 laps they can go on fuel, they'll go 2/10 faster than everybody else to drive by all the cars that they let by. They'll be like, see you later, and they do see you later, and they drive right through. So let's see if the 88 wakes up later in the run here as we work lap 38 coming to 40. We're only about 2/3 of the way through this run, so.
As Kevin King leads, of course, over Mojica by 1.8 seconds as of right now, and to talk about that point of what you're saying there a little bit. Last night, Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Legacy track, one of the funnest races I've done yet in Sim500, believe it or not. I've done a lot of races here so far. And you had, towards the end of a pit run last night of about 60 laps, Josh Parker was sitting back in like 20th or 21st, and I thought he had damage to the car, and even a couple of viewers who were watching were like, yeah, his car's got to be damaged. He's not going anywhere. And about 10 laps before pit stop, so 50 laps into the run, all of a sudden, here comes this car about 0.4 of a second faster than everyone. And it was Josh Parker who was just passing cars one by one, and sometimes 2 and 3 a lap, just blowing by them on the top side, on the bottom, wherever. It was like he was on new tires, passing everybody. It was so weird to see, and I think I thought about that when you said that.
Yeah, that's a full trickle moment. I'm not slowing down there, whatever. Okay.
I'm not slowing down, or no, I'm not going any faster. They're just slowing down. And then I forget the actor's name, turns to Robert Duvall and says, "Yeah, he's right." Oh, yeah. Actually, you know who it is? Isn't the guy that played? Who's the guy that plays Cal Norton? Isn't that him that plays in that?
Plays what?
The guy that plays Cal Norton in the
Yep.
Ricky Bobby movie, isn't that the guy that plays the crew member? As I think about that now? Yeah. No. I just put that two and two together. As Eric Arnold has passed Mons for the 5th position, as now these cars really have strung out, so the handling coming into play. And the question is, can the tire wear get them to lap? If you get to 73, you're good to go to the finish on fuel, likely, because that's the halfway point of this race. Now, there was the one caution at lap number 3. So anything could help you there, but at the same time here, I think tire wear might outrun this. We'll have to see, because I think in the next lap or two, if somebody really cannot make it on fuel, and you want to try to 2-stop this thing, I'd be on pit road right about now.
Yeah, strategy-wise, this will be interesting because take Bob Gillenwater, for example, with fresh tires. He's carving through this field with no challenge.
Right.
And we were talking about how Kevin had driven out to almost a 2-second lead. Pedro's got it down to a second and a half, a 1.43 as they cross the stripe here. So, and Mike Kelly is still hanging back there. So, we don't know. We talked about the long run, Pedro, and unfortunately for Jose Gonzalez, they're really key to these things. So we'll see how that plays out.
Matt Rondolasso on pit road. Mike Montesi made a pit stop also about lap 43. So 51 laps in right now as we start to see maybe some scheduled pit stops happening here early as some cars try to put some new tires on, seeing that they're towards the back. And again, do something different. Let the leaders race and you go put tires on the car and let it rip. As Comstock to the inside of Wesley Donaldson taking the 7th position away here.
Comstock will see if he can run down the 41 of Justin Mons. And how about Eric Arnold? We haven't seen much of him this season, but shows up and always seems to have speed in the North Carolina 811 call before you dig Camaro. He's currently trying to chase down the Nelson Rivera. Number 22 is Rivera and Kelly running nose to tail, if you want to call it that.
Right.
They have about 50 car lengths between them.
Looking at this car in the 13th position. Does this guy look familiar? The 43 of Joe Hudson has worked his way back up. He was the caution at lap 3. He came down pit road, took tires, I believe, and fuel as he was on pit road for about 15 seconds. And here he is, driven all the way up to the 13th position now in this race. So he's done a good job kind of bouncing back after a little mishap there. But yeah, Joe doing a good job here so far. Appreciate the viewers hanging out here tonight. I know it's a YouTube-only stream this evening, but appreciate everybody hanging out here this evening. I want to remind you to check out 40 Racewear for your gloves and shoes that you like to use on iRacing to potentially enhance your performance and even help you focus a little bit more with comfort. Check out 40racewear.com for gloves and shoes and merchandise and so much more. As I appreciate my good friend Jim Herrick for what he does in 40 Racewear.
I'm just looking around here to see if somebody's just playing a little possum or something. I'm looking at Richard Beasley. He's running back there in the 23rd position. He's the kind of driver that will just pace himself and not show up at all until the end of the race. Somehow he just takes the tide ride and rolls through it. Although I have to say, as it is, Chris, some people just loathe this racetrack. They never figure it out. They don't like it. They're not comfortable. So who knows what the story is here as the 10 is running back in the 23rd position and against the wall over there.
Kevin Brown comes to pit road. Lap number 22 as the 93 is in, as I have slid back to this battle right here at the 8th position, as all of a sudden 6 cars are still back to, and around goes Bobby Wetzel.
No.
Him and Joe Hudson get hooked.
Yeah, they finally sorted that out as the 12 goes down underneath, and
I'm sure that could be some interesting arguing going on there as Mark Jorgensen comes to pit road.
yeah, 2 fiery drivers, these two.
I was going to say that, but I'm like, man, I don't know Joe as well. I can't say that. So I've heard Bobby.
Oh, yeah, I've been at the channel and had the pleasure of.
I've heard Bobby some fireworks a couple times. I can say that.
Yes, I'm sure there'll be a discussion after the race, but as Wetzel has injury to insult bouncing off the wall over there in turn 3 and 4. I have to wonder if some of these drivers that are slipping back, say Calvin Tony, he's currently back into the 16th position. If maybe they got into the wall and have a little bit of damage on these cars as he bangs off the walls. I talk about that.
Let's go back and see if we can find. All right, here the contact. Oh, that's kind of weird. Let's go back here a little bit.
I wonder if the 38 maybe had a little something to do with that. Just before it happened, maybe he got a little loose and Bobby snuck down to the bottom to give him some breathing room.
Yeah, that just looks interesting if you ask me. And I say that from a standpoint of from the view we just looked at, it looks like that he being Joe Hudson had a run on Wetzel. And what I want to see is that Bobby make a move to the bottom here to block it. He's already inside, and yeah, no, he just had a run, and Bobby was lower to the inside of Chad, and Joe unfortunately hooks him.
That could also be a little bit of positioning going on between the two. We know there's storms going across the central area of the United States that does affect how these drivers see the other car as it comes back and forth from the main server.
Wait, there's storms?
Yes, sir.
I'm kidding you. We had some rain earlier.
No one's below, and I feel for those people over there in Indiana and such. You were talking about it, Michigan, and they just have been relentless in the storms they've been having every week.
It's like the drinking word this year is Michigan tornado warnings.
Yeah, I mean, the service of call before you dig. Unfortunately, they probably have a lot of trees down, telephone poles, and the like and such. And if you're out in that area, I'm sorry for what you're going through, but make sure you stay safe. Don't add injury to insult. Use the service.
Charles Van Schaik, 12th position here. Chad Coleman there behind him. Brian Wortman is behind him, unfortunately for Brian. He is a lap down right now, 28th position for him. As 62 laps, we're almost to halfway already in this race. And looks like everybody's pretty much on a similar strategy run here. Everybody's going to try to get to the halfway point, and you're going to probably see a flock of cars come to pit road.
Yeah, and I like what I'm seeing out of Pedro is he is getting comfortable. He is taking that lead down by half. He's 0.8 seconds behind Kevin King. He could see him now with about 8 car lengths as the run goes on. I'm sure Kevin's looking out the window at the tide right out in front of him, kind of giggling.
Oh, boy. As Jorgensen, obviously with the fresher tires, I believe Mark's been on pit road. He sure has, lap 56. He's trying to just be patient with Pedro here, and Pedro's going to let him go by. That is not for position as Mark just tries to unlap himself, and part of racing at Darlington is just racing the track. You do not race the other cars because, as the old theory is, Darlington picks the winner. It's not how you race.
Got to give a nod to a car we have not talked about tonight, but has been coming consistently is the number 23, Charles Van Schaik, right now, up 5 positions from the start, running currently in 11th. He is tracking down out in front of him the number 81 of Josh Parker, so that Goat Racing Diecast Ford having a good run here, sitting just outside the top 10 as we approach halfway.
Yeah, Josh obviously started all the way in the back. He's up 10 positions. There's a lot of cars didn't qualify, so his starting in the back was more starting mid-pack. As he started 20th up to the 10th position right now, he and Wesley Donaldson are each up 10. Joe Hudson up 13 positions, even though he had that spin earlier. Unfortunately, though, there are some cars that have lost track position. But you know what? One other guy, let's give a shout-out to this guy. Let's look back here at the 14th position as the Casey's General Store number 26 of Jose Gonzalez actually did not make the start of the race, if you remember. And the caution come out there at lap 3. He was able to get back on the lead lap and now sits in the 13th position as he just passed Joe Hudson. So, again, I get to pop quiz Jose and see if he knows what Casey's General Store is. And he's doing pretty good there at 26 right now.
Yeah, the 2 drivers, I wondered whether they were going to be
Whoa,
able
whoa.
to pace, and that 58 Pedro, he's there.
Is Beasley holding up Kevin here? What we got going on here? But Pedro has caught Kevin King.
Yeah, let's see how this progresses. Now that Kevin has cleared him, so has Pedro. We'll see what kind of pace they have as they get back out into clean air right in front of Kevin. That's another car. But
Beasley! There's a wall there.
He's trying to push the wall out a little bit for his fellow competitors.
Well, a lot like the Atlanta Braves. It started well for him and not so well now. I'm sure I'll get flack for that one. Anyways, yeah. That lead was 0.8 of a second a couple minutes ago, and all of a sudden Pedro's knocked it down. It was down to a 10th. Now it sits at about 0.3 of a second. This track very line sensitive, so Pedro's just got to find it through the handling to get there, and he's going to hope that this 29 makes a mistake. It's actually, you know what? It looks like Pedro's getting him a lot in turn 2. Let's see if we can compare corners here, because this is one of those things. You look at Kevin, he kind of stretches it out just a little bit there through 3 and 4. But let's watch 1 and 2 here for Pedro. 4th gear all the way to turn 1. Backs up the corner, gets right up there. Up, Kevin just striped it.
Yes.
And look at to the bottom. Pedro's there. So Kevin's car must be kind of struggling handling-wise here.
Battle for third is Nelson Rivera. Peaked low, went down underneath Mike Kelly. He's going to pull off the position and drive away down the back straightaway.
As Rivera up to the 3rd position. More cars on pit road. Joe Hudson is in. Joey Jatina on pit road, along with Doug Sigmund. So we're coming up on that halfway point right now. And 2 more laps. Kevin had a good turn 2 that time by. In the 3.
Fastest car on the racetrack is Nelson Rivera, 30.7 to the 31.0. 31 flat for Kevin King. So the LaRue Ford, he has turned up the wick on that number 22 as this stretches out here. Unfortunately, he's got a whole straightaway to run him down, but certainly found some speed in that number 22 on the long run.
Yeah, that time by is 0.2 faster than King, 0.3 faster than Pedro at a 30.79. Matter of fact, he's the only car in the top 5 in the 32nd bracket.
Fastest car in the field, no doubt.
The other car that's actually fast right now, Seth Foudy, 30.90 last time by in the 6th position. Those are the only 2 cars with 30-second laps in the top 10.
Yeah, and Jorgensen and friends who pitted Kevin DeBrown, they're all running 29 second, just under 30 with fresh tires. So
as we'll come by the halfway point this time by. So this is where you should start to see the cars coming to pit road, especially the ones ill handling here. You see them coming up on Stony Benfield in the 75 car. And
so let's spend a moment talking about getting off the racetrack here. You're going to up over on the back straightaway, try to turn the car down. Remember, it's a really tight corner. And entry to pit road, the way the walls are situated, it's one of the most challenging racetracks to get in. There's an orange spot over there that you have to go inside of to count for it. This battle will not let up. And, getting off pit road, getting around turn 1 and 2, carrying the speed down there on the slippery apron with cold tires, that's even more challenging. So we'll have to see how these top 2 are going to net out here as they're going to head to pit road in just a short.
Here's an example. Josh Parker coming to pit road, and look where he's at. He turned off in turn 3, which is what I like to do. And all the way over here to the inside part of the track. Here comes Chad Coleman with him. 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on pit road here.
These two, put a tow hitch on it. These
leaders,
right together.
Leaders coming behind him here, and Pedro lights it up in there.
And the 22 of Rivera has also ducked to pit road.
Top 4, top 5, top 6 all to pit road. That's what I figured. We get to halfway, it was going to be a flock.
You have to imagine it's 4 tires and fuel.
Right.
You got to make sure you don't slide through your pit box here.
As you see Parker and Coleman leaving pit road, 15 2-second stops. Here's your top 4 cars right here on the track. Galantoni takes off.
Going to put the 31 of Eric Arnold out front here as he relinquished the lead for pitting.
Identical stops, 15-5 and a 15-6. That hands the lead to Wesley Donaldson now.
You got one in the wall over there, Galantoni.
He just come off pit road.
He was able to drive out of it.
Oh, left side damage on that car. Wonder if he got loose or something?
Yeah, we saw from that one shot a nose flying through the air, but that must have been a ghost.
More pit stops as Beasley comes in. Wesley Donaldson now on pit road. David Comstock. Jose Gonzalez is in. This is all at lap number 77.
23 of Charles Van Schaik picks up the lead. Comes a fifth different leader here tonight.
Yeah, Van Schaik, Simley, Colby, Kevin DeBrown. Matter of fact, the top three have not come to pit road during this cycle. I say this cycle. Kevin DeBrown pitted at 55 and is actually going to be the leader of this race. When it all cycles around, it'll be the Kevin and Kevin show, with Kevin up here with me too.
Let's see if we can go back and take a peek at what happened. It was 4 tires and fuel for Calantoni. He just got loose on the exit. We talked about how slippery it is over there. He was riding the grass, and if you're low on exit out of turn 2 over by that cone, there's a little bit of a bump over there, and as you're picking up the throttle, you can slide it really sideways, and unfortunately for Calantoni, he's the one that made contact with the inside wall. He was able to grab a gear and get going, but I imagine that car is not going to be up to speed given the damage and the hit that he took, which was pretty significant.
Notice that Eric Arnold has had issues actually to tow back to pit road, but he's left the pits now. And unfortunately for Eric, he's all the way back in the 22nd position, so not sure what has transpired there, but a tough break for the driver of the 31 here. We're going to watch Calantoni leave the pits here. 4 tires and fuel. Launches out of his stall here.
28 of Patrick Colby making a long run here. He's going to pick up the lead.
Calantoni running the tightest line you possibly can on the apron there as he's rated against the grass. Oh yeah, the back end just swings around. You got to remember, there's a lot of, you got cold tires. Yeah, there goes the nose doing a couple front flips, and all of a sudden, clap on, it's back on his car.
Let's have one of those magnet things come.
As Colby comes to pit road now.
Yeah, goes to pit road, yeah.
All right, so that's going to cycle everything around the Kevin DeBrown, who is now the leader by 3.1 seconds over Kevin King. Unfortunately for Kevin DeBrown, though, he has got one more pit stop likely in him. That will happen here, and unless he gets a yellow flag to wave. But we'll see what happens here. 82 laps in. Let's jump out and get a break in, come back, and get you more racing here from the Darlington Raceway as you're watching Sim500 on the Captain Esports Network.
When do you plan on putting in that new fence we've been talking about since last summer?
I guess I could start tomorrow.
Protect the ones you love and protect your buried utilities by contacting 811 before you dig, either by phone, the web, or the NC811 app. Know what's below. Before you dig, visit nc811.org to learn more.
All right, 85 laps complete here. Welcome into the Darlington Raceway. It's race number 19 of this Sim500 NC811.org Cup Series from the virtual track Too Tough to Tame. I was trying to think of which nickname I wanted to call it this time around. Appreciate all the viewers hanging out here tonight. I know a few issues, obviously, for those watching on YouTube. We appreciate you hanging out with us this evening. Unfortunately, had an issue with our third party that's kept us from being out on Facebook outside of me sharing links over to the website. So I do appreciate everybody who's hanging out here this evening on this Monday night, as it's been the Kevin and Kevin show now after the pit stops here. DeBrown leads King over Mojica, who has 5.7 seconds now over Mark Jorgensen, who's up to fourth. Remember earlier was falling back really quickly. He is in the fourth position now. Nelson Rivera in the top 5 after 86 laps. A big cycle of pit stops there. And obviously now you want to look at who, as by the way, Kevin DeBrown just lost the lead and second place to Kevin King and Pedro Mojica while all that was going on. But Kevin, the one thing I have come to notice here as I look over at the timing and scoring, we have a majority of the field that should be good to go one stop the rest of the way. The rest of these cars, though, there's a few of them out there. I see, Kevin DeBrown, Mark Jorgensen, Mike Montesi, Matt Rodolasso, to name a few who are in the top 10, probably got to pit another time.
Yeah, Montesi, good recovery for him. He had some trouble early. He was able to parlay some of that speed that he got from pitting early into track position, and he's the kind of guy right now that's looking for something to give him a mix-up in the strategy so he could keep his track position. As King struggling to get by the 9 of Bobby Wetzel. They're side by side out of turn 4. Wetzel's car is beat up, crashed on the right side, crashed on the left side, but still plugging away here at Darlington as King is able to clear him.
Yeah, Mojica clears him too, it looks like. But Mojica right there on his tail, 0.4 of a second. He's been kind of hanging there with him. You wonder this time around, will he be able to just kind of keep speed there with him in this run? Because remember, he fell back a good 2.5 seconds in that first run and then reeled him back in. But you got to remember too, that first run was very interesting because it started out, everybody was in a pack together almost for about the first, 25, 30 laps. Then they spread it out, there's my English, spread out. And then after, 60 laps, Pedro came back and got to the leader. So I wonder if we're going to see kind of a same situation here with Pedro not really getting too far away from Kevin and maybe falling back later or maybe even pouncing. We'll see how this all shapes up, but a lot of great racing going on. Let's go back here to the 12th position. Chad Coleman and Wesley Donaldson making a pass on Matt Rodolasso there in the 49 car. There's Richard Beasley in the 10, who's unfortunately on the struggle bus here tonight. And Mon's trying to make a pass also now.
And we're just monitoring the radio chatter. The 88 of Jorgensen just told the 9 of Wetzel, who's not racing him, in a different lap to go by. So you're here now racing the racetrack. You hear that a lot about this place. Don't worry about the competition. Worry about who's out front, who's out back, but race the racetrack. Try to be good technically. I want to think about Kevin King and Pedro. They went to school in that first one. Did they run too hard? Did that caution factor into it? Both of them have now tried to figure out what the best game plan is to execute the second half of this race. And of course it all, get the eraser out, wipe the chalkboard off if we have a caution. But right now, to your point, a half-second lead Kevin King has built out over Pedro. De Brown, I think he's going to drop back. Jorgensen is in fourth. We watched him in that first run. Chris dropped so far back. To find him in the top 5 for the second stint is kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah, that's that short pitting that he did. He did the undercut and jumped back up there in the field. Now as you see Mike Kelly go underneath. He's going to try to buy one, get one here as he gets around Rivera. Now going to try to get Jorgensen off of turn 4. But yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point here. And you see Jorgensen's going to give up the spots there. So Kelly with a big benefit there on that run there. And you see Stoney Benfield, by the way, as Barbara Pinion checks in. Hope you're doing well, Barbara, in chat. Representing Stoney and his updated paint scheme here. We're used to seeing him in the NC811 colors, but for Stoney tonight, looks like in the was that Prospect Baptist Church car. So I'm not sure if that's the church that Stoney's the pastor of, but cool to see that paint scheme out here tonight. Is Jorgensen just had to, or not Jorgensen, sorry, but Rodolasso just had to hang a left for Kevin King to go on around and lap him. So that makes now 19 cars on the lead lap here. 95 laps complete this time by.
I was looking at that battle for the 22 and the 2 for Nelson Rivera. He came out of the pits ahead of Mike Kelly, but got stuck behind the 88 back about 4 laps ago. And Mike Kelly was able to take the opportunity to slip down underneath. And all that work that Nelson did a good around Mike, and now unfortunately he's going to be following his back bumpers as the orange Exalta number 2 moved into the 4th position, which is in essence the 3rd position once De Brown goes to pit road.
This is going to be a terrible segue, but you mentioned Mike Kelly being in an orange car, and I couldn't help but think of orange for a second in a different way. As my wife has just passed, she's become my producer the last couple of nights. She's handing me notes of like things, and randomly tonight she handed me a note saying that today is National Chicken Wing Day.
Oh,
for those who did not know, I know chicken wings, mild sauce, medium's kind of orange, so that's where I tie that together. Yeah, so chicken wings, there you go. National Chicken Wing Day. So hope everybody had some wings tonight or whenever to celebrate.
You know, once upon a fashion, my son worked at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we have taken to going there, and I have Buffalo Wild Wings on my car when I come out and race with these guys.
B-dubs, yes, it's a favorite of mine.
Yeah, just there this week. Would stop by for lunch.
Very nice, very nice. As we are 99 laps complete here at the virtual Darlington Raceway, Darlington, South Carolina. As Kevin King, 0.4 of a second over Pedro Mojica. They've got 10 seconds now over Kevin DeBrown, who has fallen back into the clutches of Mike Kelly, Nelson Rivera, and Seth Foudy, who's up here in the 6th position, having a fantastic run in that number 11 car. It's up to about 11 cars here at Darlington, running pretty well. You think of the hometown driver, of course, the late great Cale Yarborough in that 11 car. You think of the Bill Elliott, part of his 4 wins in a row, came at Darlington, won the Southern 500 94. Of course, Denny Hamlin now.
Darrell
Waltrip. There's a bunch of 11s going to victory lane here at this track as you see Kevin DeBrown losing 3rd now to Kelly, 4th to Rivera, and then scraping the wall over there in the turn 4 area of this track. So let's ask the viewers here, what's your wing of choice? Is it the regular old mild? Is it spicy hot? Is it the garlic parmesan, or is it the sweet and sour? Is it all those different ones? Let's see if we get some good answers out of this one.
I love the salt and vinegar from B-Dubs.
What?
I don't know. Something about that is so good.
Salt and vinegar? Come again? What?
Yes. Try it.
Okay. The only thing I think I've ever salt and vinegar, and even then it's tasted interesting, was a sub. As up, here comes Jorgensen and Kevin DeBrown, the pit road, lap 102. So this is that second stop for these guys. I'm going to be honest with you, this track, and the way the times have fallen off, I'm not so sure that the second stop is going to be beneficial here. I hope I'm wrong, but you know, lap times have only fallen off about a second or so in the run.
I'm watching this battle over here coming out of turn 4 down the front straightaway for Nelson Rivera and Mike Kelly. They're still lockstep with each other. And we'll look to see whether Nelson can move around. For Nelson, if this thing goes green, he's going to need to make his move and use that speed he had earlier.
Here Jorgensen coming to pit road now at lap 103. So he's in for his final stop of the race as King, still 7/10 out. The battle is like right there. There's a couple battles actually right here at 3rd position. There's one back at the 11th spot with Jose Gonzalez. But the one thing I'm noticing, Kev, a lot of these cars, their right side's pretty clean. I mean, for a track that's known as the track too tough to tame, or the Lady in Black, or all the different nicknames this thing has, it is definitely, I don't know if it's taking the night off or something, but these cars I don't see many scrapes or stripes on them.
Yeah, you tend to see that when they're put on top of each other, but as they stretch out and can run their own, we see, like the 93 earlier, we saw him go up and hit the wall, but that's just a kiss, just a little touch. Sometimes you can bank it off the wall and actually run a faster lap, as you just kind of do what you can not to clobber the wall, which would really wreck your night.
So I know, Kevin, I've talked a little bit about the minnow pond. I think I bring it up at every Darlington podcast. It's almost like a drinking game now. For those watching, it's like when I bring the story up about the minnow pond at Darlington, right? So let's change up the stories a little bit. If you go back and you go look at the NASCAR Classics webpage and go watch the first races here at Darlington, 1950, 1951, those years, you will notice real closely as you watch the track, it actually had a little bit of a different configuration. When it came to turn 1 and 2, it was actually a little bit of a sharper corner in turn 1, but also you will notice there was no pit wall on the inside. So like right here, if they had a pit, they just hung a left right here and went and found their stall. Talking about a little dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I know the track is wide, but this place, we saw Petty go down there and hit the wall.
Flip, right? 1970, I think it was.
So imagine if the wall wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean,
hit the inside pit wall.
It's not often you break a wall. He broke a wall. I mean, he hit that wall so hard. Matter of fact, that was the wreck that actually introduced the safety net to cars. Because if you remember in that wreck, Petty's like arm is literally just flying out the car and dangling and stuff, and he's like halfway out the car, so they put safety nets in after that wreck.
I think it was his mother who came up with the idea.
Wow.
I think that's what I remember.
So
Seth Fowler moved around into that fourth position around the 22 of Nelson Rivera.
Oh.
Inserted himself into that conversation.
Sorry, Kev. Watching these two in front of Kevin King battle to stay on the lead lap, Simley and Arnold. And that has brought Pedro up into this battle. As King looks inside of Simley.
We saw earlier a car use a back marker as a pick. We have to see whether the opportunity presents for Pedro. Pick and choose the line as you enter in when you're running through this traffic.
Pedro catches Simley at a bad spot. Pedro kind of caught him at a bad spot here. So far, King is getting kind of the advantage here as he's catching him into the corner, where Pedro's getting him in the center of the corner, and you want to get them on entry here.
Yeah, coming off is not the place to be. As
King putting a lap on.
Jose Gonzalez, we saw his misfortune at the beginning. 41 was absolutely sideways.
I was going to say, what happened to the 41? He was way off the pace. And he has fallen back to the 15th position.
Joe Hudson just slammed the wall. That's going to bring the 88 down underneath Mojica. As Kevin cleared all of these lap cars.
Oh!
This is looking really hairy there. Hang on to it.
Pedro's like, boys, what are you doing? But in fairness, these guys are battling for the lucky dog now.
Yeah.
As Jorgensen goes flying by, he's actually got tires from the last pit stop just now. So he's flying through. There's Arnold.
Now and if I'm Pedro, I'm having apoplexy. This is just not fair because he had run. Kevin down was physically on his back bumper, and then these lap cars, no fault of their own, but just the way the circumstance plays out. And again, the shamrock shines on the 29 as he's able to drive away. And if Pedro's going to catch him, he's got a lot of work to do.
So you're saying that, according to, I had to look the word up really quickly. You're saying that Pedro is having a rupture of an internal organ?
Apoplectic? No, that's not what that means.
That's what Google's telling me.
Oh, that's funny.
That's what it says here. It refers to the rupture of an internal organ and the associated symptoms, according to Google. I had to look that one up real quick.
Further to the definition, it is now known as.
Hey, look who's third.
Like your head exploding.
I think it's called an aneurysm, but I get what you're saying there. Seth Fowdy is up to the third position. This guy's having the race of his life tonight. Started 13th, up to third now, as I think Mike Kelly just knocked the wall down.
Yeah, Fowdy's car is just on fire. He's found an afterburner, and he is rolling through. He'd be the one driver who would really benefit at this point from a caution to erase the 11-second benefit that Kevin King has over the third-place car. But you see a caution that's going to change everything. It's going to bring Kelly, Rivera, Parker, and others into it. You got Wesley Donaldson and Chad Coleman who were, running somewhere in the top half of the top 10. Now they've cycled back to the latter half, still sitting in that top 10, but Gonzalez has come to 9th.
Yeah, Gonzalez looking real good there in that 9th position right now in that Casey's General Store car. So, hey, could you imagine how these guys have felt? They've been green for 12 laps now or so, went green at lap 4 and been green ever since. And could you imagine these guys with the force feedback and stuff? They're out there probably pretty tired right now, right? Well, I know one place if I went to, and I'd be pretty tired right now, is if I went over to MC Racing and ran this race in Fort Wayne and downtown and, just happened to need a place to run a league race, and you come over there and talk to Mark, and some people actually do run official sessions and stuff, but I can tell you right now, after 4 laps on a road course, my arms were burning. I can only imagine a lap at Darlington in those awesome rigs that he has, but if you ever going past the area or whatnot, have a plan to come to Fort Wayne in the future to check out any of the festivals and stuff, make sure you check out MC Racing in downtown. There's another segue for you.
There you go. Let's give a call to Joey Jattina, still in the lead lap, running back there in 19th, just kind of cruising in the Chesterton Ford. He also probably like to see a little track position here, but just kind of out there putting his laps in.
Joey ran into this week, he shared the photo on Facebook, and I was like, wait, wow. It was like a big callback, because I think he was on like Junior's podcast a few, maybe if not a year or so ago, or less than a year ago, was Alabama gang driver Hut Strickland.
Hut.
Right? I mean, a former, drove for Bobby Allison, drove for the Stavola brothers at one point, and that was kind of a cool photo. It's like just, right,
color.
The old Circuit City car back in the heyday.
They were an interesting group, the Stavola brothers.
Yeah, Jeff Burton drove for him his rookie year, a couple years there in his early years of that team.
Yeah, were they not the first one to have the Miller sponsorship?
I think that was Bobby Allison. Or are you talking about before that, maybe?
I don't. I remember the Stavola brothers had Miller, the gold paint scheme, but I'm not sure if that was before or after the Bobby Allison.
I shall investigate. As Nelson Rivera has passed Mike Kelly for position. Down to Z's fourth spot.
It would be after would make sense, I suppose.
Well, I just remember, obviously, the 12 car always having those paint schemes. When Allison drove for him, and then he got that wreck at Pocono where he got injured and had to step away, and then obviously you had many drivers drive the 12 car after that, and 22 car eventually too, also in there. But so 26 laps to go. We're gonna step away and get you one last break in here before we get to the finish. It is Kevin King who has dominated again tonight, but this time it's only a 1.4 second lead over Pedro Mojica. Let's step away, get you your final break as you're watching Sim500 on the Captain Esports Network.
What a nice day to install my new mailbox.
Hi there, friend. I'm Dig Safely Man. My job is to ensure you call 811 before you dig.
Why do I need to do that?
Vital utilities like natural gas and electric run just beneath the Earth's surface. Damaging them can cause service interruption, environmental hazards, or personal injury.
I thought only contractors had to call before they dig, so homeowners do too.
Call 3 business days before you dig unless you have X-ray vision. Visit nc811.org to learn more.
All right, back with you, 23 laps to go. The Kevin King Show continues here from Darlington Raceway, the oldest, it's kind of weird, super speedway in all of racing. It's 1.366 miles. So back then it's a super speedway. Now it's just a regular track, basically, when you look at some of the track sizes. But Kevin King has lapped up to the 10th place car. Chad Coleman, the first one to lap down in the 11th position. Jose Gonzalez there in 10th, but you know what? We cannot discredit what Pedro Mojica has done as he runs P2 and is right here behind Kevin, 1.6 seconds back and 14 seconds ahead of Seth Foudy. So not only is Kevin lapped up to 10th, but Pedro has followed him right through and has been right there. And one thing we do need to know, Kev, once we got to about lap 55 to 60 in the run early in this race, that 58 started to kind of pull out the fishing pole and reel in that 29 car.
Yeah, unfortunately, he lost a second there to some of the shenanigans going on the racetrack as Kevin King has really turned the wick up here and started to stretch it out a little bit, almost to 2 seconds. But I have to wonder if, Pedro's just kind of conserving right now. Eventually, they will come back to lab cars, and when they do, it's the possibility that the tides will turn. Maybe Pedro will get the good run through it. How about Kevin? He has a lap up to what? Like the 10th place
10th
car?
spot. Yeah.
Sure.
10 cars in the lead lap, and 2 of them are battling for 7th right now, and they got real tight in 1 and 2 as Donaldson makes the pass on Josh Parker for 7th, so move the WBD diecast number 91 car and head to the Fritos machine. So, not sure if you're a numerical guy, but I just happened to catch this. I know Pedro obviously has been around for a while. Kevin King running for the first time in a while here in this series, but 29 times 2 is.
To carry that to, no, 58.
58. Look at Pedro's number. I mean, it's kind of weird how the numericals work here, but yeah, I just kind of caught of that random moment there as you see Wesley going around Joey Jattina here, and he is starting to put pressure on Van Schaik, who's up into 6th position. Charles having another fantastic run. You mentioned that GOAT automobile. We're going to have a battle of diecast companies here for 6th here in a second. Of course, each one has their respect for the other. Comstock striping the wall back there in that monster car. You can only, I mean, these guys got to be feeling like jello right now. Their arms, I mean, they're probably hurting a little bit here too, because, I mean, you're facing a computer. I mean, yes, I've run a few Southern 500s on iRacing, but you're running nearly 130 or 126 laps now, caution free, without since that first yellow at lap 3, and you can't wonder if the focus of some of these guys has kind of gone away, thinking about just whatever in life is going on, or what their car is doing, if they're somebody that actually can stay focused on the track and not get distracted. And those who maybe have already checked out have probably knocked the wall down 15 times. So needless to say, though, Kev, 125 laps here with all green flag racing. These guys got to be tired.
Yeah, and Kevin picked up the lead around lap 87 and has been out front, but now he's getting to the back half of the top 10. And passing cars such as the 81 of Josh Parker and the 26 of Jose Gonzalez is not going to be easy. So this is going to play into the favor of the 58, as I think the space, the gap, as we look at it right now, 1.7 seconds is going to shorten up here, as Kevin's going to have to work hard to get around a couple of these cars out in front of him.
Wesley Donaldson passing Van Schaik for 6, so move Wes up. Another, don't get, he got on that apron, that thing got old do.
Yeah, and all of this is just out in front of your leader here. He could see all this action right in front of him, as he has a windshield full of about 7 cars as Jattina goes low out of turn 4.
Yeah, Joey's going to let the field go on by there, as now you got Gonzalez battling for position with Josh Parker, but Jose's going to go ahead and let Kevin go by.
Yeah, and that gap is now down to 1.3 as Kevin's trying to navigate this traffic. And, we always talk about the second place car generally is not going to work hard. Because once you're lapped, if you see the second place car, it's not your fight.
Not to cut you off here, Joey, but Josh Parker is one of those team name guys that's a teammate to Pedro, technically. So Josh could easily help this 29 a little bit, hold him up, and slam himself into the wall.
Oh.
I'll say he was trying to help Pedro out there a little bit, but he kind of hurt himself. And he slams the wall again, I think.
Yeah, and of course he's in there for position, right? So he's trying not to. He doesn't want to let Kevin go, but he didn't want to let Jose get around either. Pedro going to slide down there and slip on by.
See how easy he got by? You talked about that second place car getting it easy. Well, that's more even helping when you're a teammate. You just slide right on through, as Kevin almost got the turn 2 wall.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Kevin was saving a little something here, and now he's going to turn up the wick because he sees the gap. They could tell it went from almost a 2-second lead to 1.1 here. And I would imagine that when you're in Mojica's situation, woulda, coulda, shoulda for this second run. Did he run it right? He did well on the pit stop. He did well on everything. It was yellow.
Oh, no.
Well, okay.
Second caution, it's Kevin to Brown.
I was just gonna say, this really feels like it's gonna be perilous to get all the way to the finish, given some cars on worn tires, different speed, different this and that. But wow. All right, reset the book here.
Kevin DeBrown running behind Seth Foudy here down the back straightaway. Oh, and he gets into Foudy, and what in the world? Foudy was running third. And the South Carolina driver, I'm going to quote a referee once in a football game, gave him the business.
I'm not sure what...
Did he miss his mark and just run over Seth? I mean,
maybe he has newer tires and he thought the 11 was going to yield it. He went to pull down and get as much as he could, and he nicked the back bumper. Just the timing was off.
Wow.
Well, the good news for him is he hustled the car down out of the groove so he didn't get plugged, because he was in jeopardy as your leaders are going to pit road.
Yes, they are. That looked very interesting, to say the least. Cars on pit road. And
probably the least fortune for the 11, as he's probably going to have to get some damage fixed, which is going to cost some track position. If he can get into pit road out in front of somebody and have those seconds he needs to get things squared away, because everybody's so spaced out.
Kevin King, 2 tires.
2 tires.
He's going to be the only one on 2 tires.
That's going to be interesting. And he's going to have 4 tires sitting there right behind him.
Wow.
I wonder if he went down pit road thinking, I'm not going to get beat. I'm not going to get beat.
The only thing about that, though, is it was just him and Mojica were the only 2 within 10 seconds of the lead, 15 seconds of the lead. Something doesn't seem right there.
Well, there are times when you can change 2 tires and carry the speed the car still rotates. Maybe he liked the way the car felt for him.
Maybe, yeah.
I would think you'd want 4, Chris, here at this racetrack. But we've been wrong before when it comes to KK. But in the context of being able to cut the car, especially if you get down underneath somebody and drive up out of the corner, the security of 4 tires all day long. I'm in Darrell Waltrip's camp. Give me 4.
Give me 4, and I'm not leaving without him. Now, when the track was repaved, if you go back to 2011, Regan Smith winning the Southern 500 in the Furniture Row car, the first win for that team. That was a 2-tire stop that got him the win in that race. But, of course, that was on the fresher new pavement at that time at Darlington. So, pop quiz for everybody. We talked a little bit about the 4 wins in a row. That is the modern record for wins in a row in a NASCAR Series race. However, before that time, did you know, and you probably know this, Kev, do you know who actually, in all of NASCAR history, has the most wins of all time consecutively?
Consecutively.
There's one answer to this.
I'm going to take 2 guesses, because I don't know. It's either Gordon or Johnson.
No, it's neither of them. You got to go before this. Johnson won 4 in a row once. I think Gordon did it once too, but it's Richard Petty. Richard Petty, back in the, there was a season, I got to look up the year because I can't remember it. There's one season in particular, and this is before the modern era of NASCAR. They ran like weekday races and stuff, and they ran like 70 races one season.
They bring Greensville Pickens on a Thursday. And
well, there was a season, he actually won 27 races, I think is the number. He won 10 in a row at one point.
Look at the wave rounds.
Yeah,
the entire field just waved around here.
Now, I'm not going to be one that is trying to instigate anything here as we come to the green with 6 laps to go. But I have to go back to remember a conversation I had before the race. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything here. But I've been told there were some drivers that were having some issues with other drivers in the race. Not necessarily tonight, but in the past. Now, I'm just going to leave it at that when it comes to the last caution. That has crossed my mind as I thought about it. So, I'm going to throw that little dog bone out there and just let everybody think about that for a second. As we come to the green, Kevin King with 2 tires, leading Pedro Mojica with 4, and everybody else around him, but David Comstock have 4. Comstock has 2, believe it or not. As we go green, 6 laps to go. Is it 9 in a row for the 29?
I'll tell you, got a great start. He's out. We got pace car still out there? No.
It better not be.
Oh, 22 got tagged. He's going to slide sideways out of turn number 2.
And more spinning behind him.
Multiple positions.
As Bob Gillenwater is spun, we got cars still scattering out here into turn 3 and 4. Eric Arnold's up in the wall.
Stay green.
Pedro's got it.
Click through and get stuck on the pace car moments. Okay.
So Gillenwater comes to pit road, saw a bunch of cars in the wall. There's another one gets sideways, the 88 it looked like.
Now the question is, what kind of speed does the 58 have? It's a 33.45 to a 34.98 last time by. This time by, it's
wow.
Nice.
Good grief.
29.0. Wow. Not only is 2 tires fast, but it's the fastest time of the night for Kevin King.
What was the pole lap? That's up there with that number.
Pedro had a good lap out of turn 3 and 4, though. You could see it visibly close out of 4. Hopefully he'll be able to carry that and see if he can get there. It's 0.63.
Huh, he went faster.
Again, at 28.8, even faster for Kevin King. Maybe with the cycle, the tires cooling off and so on, he must have learned something in practice about these 2 tires, because that car is flying.
Grip it and rip it. Good grief. Mike Kelly's in third, about 1.8 back from these guys. And then it's Seth Foundy, David Comstock, your top 5.
I'm just astonished.
Yeah, he's faster.
What car?
Runs 88 that time by, and 97 for Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro got down to 28, so he found a little speed.
Oh, and they just got the wall there. And Miss Weeks, thank you for fixing the issue for you. I was trying to remember the year off of my memory. It's 1967 was the season at Richard Petty. 27 races, 10 in a row.
There you go.
What was that? It was 72 races, I think, that year or something like that. As we hit the final lap. White flag.
Comstock sitting back there in 5th. He's charged through and made something of that yellow.
And for a lot of the series, they might be waving the white flag if they watch these last 5 laps to what Kevin has done here tonight. Holy moly's put out some laps, and he has made 2 tires look like cake as Kevin King makes it 9 in a row and wins the Southern 200 at the Darlington Raceway. He's got me speechless over here.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him what the magic is in that bottle that found the speed. I don't know if it's from the temps dropping or what, but certainly the grip was there for him to be able to run away from last year's champion with 2 tires. Wouldn't have guessed it, but again, we keep saying his ability to do the impossible shows up every week somewhere in the race. And tonight, well, the restart, with just a handful of laps to go, he drove away, and once again, look who it is in victory lane. Just an amazing accomplishment.
Wow, that's all I can say to that. Great race, though. Great job by these guys bouncing back after the 12th caution race back in May. Come back here in July and only the 2 cautions to finish out that race. So well done as Kevin's doing an invisible smoke burnout. I think his tires are that scorched already.
Donaldson 6th, Van Schaik 7th, Gonzalez 8th, Rivera 9th, and Scott Simley comes up to 10th. Good late run for Scott Simley to bag a top 10 here tonight.
As you see me, I'm pulling up the times real quickly here. Pedro Mojica's pole time was a 28.86, so he was 2 100ths off the pole lap. He actually would have qualified second with his fastest lap of the race. That's crazy to even think about. That Kevin goes to victory lane here tonight, and congratulations to him as he will celebrate. Mojica second as we take a look at the Final results now from the race here this evening at Darlington. As King Mojica Foudy finishes 4th there behind Mike Kelly. I'm sure Seth will be a little disappointed in what happened here tonight. David Comstock 5th. Wesley Donaldson finishing 6th as Kevin mentioned. Charles Van Schaik 7th. Jose Gonzalez comes back to finish 8th after starting a lap down because he missed the start of the race. Nelson Vera 9th. Scott Simley 10th. Josh Parker 11th. Chad Coleman 12th. Bobby Wetzel 13th. Kevin Brown 14th. And Patrick Colby ends up in the 15th position. 16th to Callan Tony. Joe Hudson 17th. Mark Jorgensen 18th. Justin Mons 19th. And Matt Rodolasso 20th. Stoney Benfield 21st. Richard Beasley 22nd. Joey Dettina 23rd. Mark Schrader 24th. Doug Sigmund 25th. Eric Arnold. Brian Wortman. Bob Gillenwater. Mike Montesi. Kevin Stone. Randy Yoakum. Those are the 31 racers here tonight that started in the end here at the track. Too Tough to Tame. As Mr. Michael Kelly obviously had everything work for him tonight pretty well. Gets himself a top 3 finish here this evening, and we'll bring him up from that Turn 1 Heroes channel up here to join us as Mike obviously comes off a top 3 finish. And Mike, obviously, great run. You and Seth, you guys talked about it a little bit, but before the race when we were having that conversation about what to expect, you guys seem to have it kind of organized with the notes and things that you were sharing, and or you guys put those notes to work and got yourselves a top 3 for you, a top 4 for Seth, and a couple good runs.
Yeah, we brought home Chuck in 7th too, I believe.
Yeah.
So, good run for Turn 1 Heroes. First of all, I want to say though, I gotta apologize to Nelson. He probably should be the one here getting interviewed actually, because I had no intention of even trying to make a move on him unless something happened. And I'm just watching the replay when you pulled me up. I don't know. It looked like he kind of missed the bottom and lost a little momentum there. And I tried to pull it under him and clipped his left rear and sent him spinning. I'm glad he saved it because it's the last thing I wanted to do after last night. But anyway, back to the race. Yeah, it actually, these cars drove great, I have to say. Kudos to whatever the setup builder with this combo. It was actually a pleasant car to drive for a change at Darlington, and the notes we had worked good. I kind of just threw everything out the window and just went for it and shifted and did all that stuff, and I was kind of planning on a 55, 50, 40 some lap strategy, but when I got about halfway through the run, I saw that with that yellow, I thought I still had a chance to make it, even though I was shifting. And then, of course, we made it, and I started running in 5th gear, and lo and behold, it seemed like the car was handling worse when I was trying to run in 5th gear. And then I got to a point where it looked like I could start shifting again and make it to the end, and then the yellow came out, and it all went out the window. Great race by everybody for sure. Kudos to all the drivers, and it was a lot of fun for a Darlington race.
Yeah, obviously, the one thing I caught tonight, and I mentioned to England in the broadcast, was how the track just seemed like it had a lot of grip in it. And I don't know if that was producing some tight conditions later in the run, because I did see some cars start to fall off later. But the one thing that really caught my attention was the first 25 laps. It was like the top 10, top 12, 15 cars were all in a pack together, just running laps in the draft and able to stay close to each other. Is that what you were seeing?
Definitely. I was surprised, through 3 and 4, you could pretty much run low, middle, or high and still run the same lap times. And you could run side by side a little bit. And Kevin and Pedro, myself, Nelson, who was running great, and who else was up there at that time? Can't remember for sure, but a lot of good racing for Darlington. Hopefully it was exciting to watch. But, of course, King pulled it out there at the end, and he had a pretty big lead. I think him and Pedro were so far gone I couldn't even see him. So good job by those two, and like I said, it was a fun race for Darlington.
I think you will fully understand why they pulled away when you watch the end of the race. So just put it like that. So they were running qualifying laps pretty much in front of you.
Yeah.
But needless to say, man, second in points still there. You actually got 53 points now in Tyler Dalton. So with Tyler unfortunately missing the race, and of course we all know what has happened there on his personal side. So but to still be, if you want to call it the best of the rest class here, with the one win you got earlier this season at Daytona, of course, the 9 top 5s, 12 top 10s, pretty good season so far.
Yeah, it's been sporty. I can't complain. Top 5 in the points in this series is is something to be proud of, I feel like, and I'll just keep digging. It's good to be in this position because I have drops if I need them, and I just go out there and have fun and try to run clean races, which is a bit of a struggle lately. And bring her home on the podium if I can, get to talk to you, and go from there. It looks like it's going to be a good run to the playoffs, and then it'll be time to get serious.
There you go, man. Well, great job tonight. Send some shout-outs.
All right. Shout out to this new Speed Energy drink, Save Mark Menards Toyota. Like the sporty new orange paint job so everyone can see me when they want to run me over. It's important to let everybody know where I'm at. Shout out to you and Kevin and Captain Esports Network. Shout out to all the sponsors. Unfortunately, NC811 guest is not coming back, so special thanks to them for all the support they've had for Sim500 and for me being a sponsor in the past. Trans Service, WBD Diecast, all the sponsors here. And of course, as always, the Smoking Hot Wife.
There you go, man. Well, great job. Congratulations on your...
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. And to John Mustian and Ashlyn, once again, shout out to her, and he just helped me get this new paint job spiffed up, so shout out to him too. Whew, I'm glad I didn't forget that.
Nice job, man. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you.
Yes,
Have
sir.
a good one.
You too, buddy. Mike Kelly, the third place finisher here tonight for Turn 1 Heroes, as he finishes in the third position here tonight. And Kevin, we'll let you talk to the guy that is averaging a 1.5 finish this week.
Yeah, so Pedro, second place finish tonight, and we have questions.
Boy, do we.
Mr. King took 2 tires on that, and maybe you could explain to us the magic as the speed you guys ran at the end for qualifying lap speed. Just astonishing how fast you two were in that final segment.
Yeah, I guess I was a little surprised he took 2, but I guess in the end, like, you know, the 4 tires took a few laps to come in, and so the 2, it's practically, it goes off, it shoots off quicker. On top of that, you know, because he already came in before me, he was already leading. He probably was going to get the lead out anyways, whether he took 2 or 4.
Yeah.
So he had the track position, the clean air. So, you know, he had full downforce on the front of the vehicle, and then the tires just shot off quicker than what I had. So for the 4 tires to work out, I probably needed another 5 or 10 laps or so, or to have a chance. But I mean, like I said, I was a little surprised it took 2, but then in the end, if I would have took 2, it just would have been the same thing. So I'm kind of happy I took 4. At least it did something different than Kevin, to see if maybe that would help. It just, yeah, just unfortunately just couldn't really do anything with him.
Let's rewind the tape and go back through the race. There was a point where you drove back to him on the pit cycle. You got right to his bumper as you came in. You came out together. And at some point he drove off a little bit, but you were there, and lap traffic really, just whatever it is from the luck of the Shamrock, did not go your way there.
Yeah, that I was I was pretty animated about it at that moment, just because, I mean, I don't know, the first run I got back to Kevin. I think the second run he kind of learned from his mistakes, so I think he was just trying to manage the gap to me but stay in front of me. But most of that run, like, I was in his dirty air, but he was in somebody else's dirty air too, so I felt like we were pretty equal for most of that run. There for a little bit, I did back off just a little bit, just to try to save a little more and see maybe could I pull the same magic off at the end of the run that I did the first run. At least get to him and at least try to give him a battle for the lead. And yeah, we got in there with lap traffic, and I don't know, to me, you know, obviously it sucked because, like, I was right there on Kevin, and then Eric went down the track to try to pass, I think it was Joe Hudson, and the thing is they were battling for position.
Right.
So it just, like, I could be mad at Eric for doing that, but he's racing and he's trying to get a position. So, you know, I can't fault him for that, I guess. Maybe I wish he would have waited just like a half a lap, let me get by, and then go for it. But yeah, I mean, he went for it, and that filled the hole, and I just I was stuck, and I went from being about a half a second, 4/10 behind Kevin to a second and 7/10 back. So I lost a bunch of ground, which at that point, eh, I kind of knew just the way Kevin was driving that run that it was going to be really difficult to make up that gap. So honestly, the yellow was probably a good thing for me just to give me a second opportunity to try to do something. But it's just tough, man. Like the beginning of the race, we were racing pretty hard, and I think I see why Kevin was racing so hard. It's just the track position. Like when two guys are that close in speed, track position's huge, man, because it was hard to pass, right? Like even if I could have got to Kevin on older tires, he could just roll the top and practically, unless he really screwed up on the top, the only other way I could get by him is if I wrecked him, doored him, because it's just so hard on the bottom with the way the setup was and the way the arrow and all that works. But either way, yeah, like
We did see you get to his quarter panel at one point. You made a pass early in the race, but we were wondering, were you laying back off in order to keep air on the nose, or was he just gapping you a little bit?
that first run, like I kind of screwed up and I tried to save, and he took advantage of me and got back by around me. And at that point, I tried to get a couple runs off the corner, just couldn't really get much of anything to really peak or show anything. So at that point, I kind of just try to play it cool and try to just keep some kind of air on the car. And then yeah, he drove away a little bit. I just kind of did my own thing. I don't know if just us racing or maybe he went a little harder that first run than he should have, but either way, yeah, he got away a little bit, but then we got back to him right there as we pitted, and then yeah, like I said, the second run we were just practically nose to tail the whole run until the lap traffic and all that.
Well, this is one of the first races that we've actually seen somebody tagged on the back of the bumper. So keep it going, Pedro. If you keep coming back, we think sooner or later somebody's going to knock him off. At this point, there's got to be a bounty for Kevin, but we can't underestimate how good your runs have been in the times that you've come back to join us, showing the championship form from last season. Great run here tonight at Darlington. I know it's disappointing not to win, but you got to be satisfied with an outstanding race at a difficult racetrack.
Yeah, I'd say I like Darlington, but I feel like it might not be my best track. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not on here all the time, right? Like this is I've been off for about a month just between vacation and work and whatnot. And so yesterday and today were my first races in about a month. So it's not like I'm not on here a lot and whatnot. So I do take some pride in that to be able to jump on. The only practice I get is the practice session they throw up before the race and kind of figure out the car enough to be competitive in each of these races. I do pride myself in that to at least, hey, like I still got it, a little bit, I guess. But yeah, man, when you race people like Kevin King, like you got to be on your A game. So, and I like that. Like it's a challenge, right? It's something dangling in front of me that's like, okay, here's somebody who's really good. Like I really got to be on my stuff. I got to make sure I enter the pits efficiently, make sure I get in my box efficiently, make sure I get out of the box. Like just little things like that add up a lot when you race against people of the same speed or faster. So, having people like Kevin here, it really makes you have to focus on the little things and be on your A game every lap during the race. So
There you go, Pedro Mojica, second place finish. We'll give you the microphone to give any shout outs you want before we head over and talk to the winner.
yeah, no, again, I did this last night after the Xfinity race or uh, the Sunday series race. But yeah, just Tyler and his family, Tyler Dalton and his family, were thinking about him. Prayers to them after their loss this past week. So we missed you tonight, buddy. Hope you're doing all right. Keep your head up, and looking forward to see you racing back here, hopefully later this week or next week. NC811, heard the news during the race or before the race started. They won't be returning next year, unfortunately, but hopefully we could put them out with a good show at the end of the year and with all the series, and I just appreciate their support and everything they do for Sim500 and for all the communities in the United States. So All the guys on team name, appreciate them. Appreciate the admins at Sim500, everything they do. And Chris and Kevin, appreciate y'all on putting on the broadcast. Always have a blast going back and watching them, or the times I don't race, I do tune in at least for a little bit and just kind of get an update on what's going on. And you guys do a great job. I really enjoy it. It's like watching the real thing, so you guys do a great job, so appreciate it. And then yeah, just Kevin King, congrats on the win again. I tried, man. I try to give him a run for his money. But yeah, no, it's fun racing with him. Learn a lot from the guy just racing against him. So congrats to him.
There you go, Pedro Mojica, second place finish tonight. We take a week off next week, but before we get out of here, we're going to talk to our winner tonight, Kevin King, sitting down in victory lane.
I couldn't help but while you were talking to Pedro, I went back and did some research really quickly and looked up that year of 1967. That was the year that they actually ran 49 races, and he won 10 in a row out of 48 starts, out of the 27 wins. And not saying that, Kevin, you're going to do that here this season, but obviously I talk about the record that Richard Petty made back in 1968, of course, before the modern day of racing, of if anybody can go do 10 wins in a row in a series. And Kevin, tonight, obviously you put on a show with you and Pedro. I mean, you two obviously by far the two fastest cars out there, and he held you, he kept you honest pretty much throughout the night, and you had to fight real hard to get this one.
Yeah, I think Pedro's one of those sleeper guys. I know he dominated last season, but he's always been someone that I never, take. I don't really take a lot of people for granted, but I know he's always that sneaky fast guy. The crazy thing, he doesn't really race that much, and that's what makes it a little bit scarier. You just never know how fast he's going to be, but he's going to be fast. And yeah, that first run, he definitely kept me honest. I thought I was doing a good job saving fuel. I was running fifth gear quite a bit, thinking I needed to save fuel for a certain portion of the race. And going back at it, it looks like he was running fourth gear, which I think helped entry, not to kill the right front, because my right front was destroyed once I got to the last part of that run. I just didn't feel comfortable at all. So changed it up the second run, maintained the gap. Definitely with the traffic wasn't helpful, but I felt quite a bit better that second run. And when we pit there at the end, the tires showed it. So I felt confident, but yeah, he we went 140 something laps, and I think the furthest I got was like 2 seconds, but then he reeled me back in pretty quickly. So yeah, Pedro, he is no joke. I really love racing him because he's always clean and respectful, but just imagine like if he had more time to put into it and he wanted to, how good he could be. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Pedro.
Now, obviously, we go to that last pit stop. Pedro kind of explained it a little bit, and it made sense, and I thought about this before from previous times you'd done this. But you two were out to, you guys were almost at the state line for North Carolina in the lead before that caution come out, and which gave you guys a big advantage to come down pit road, and you went ahead and made the call. I'm going 2 tires. Pedro went 4 tires. Now, of course, logically, we're sitting there in our heads like, that's not going to make sense at Darlington. Pedro should eat his lunch. But when you think about the way the track takes so long to heat up the tires, especially on 4 tires at night, you took advantage of that. And I mean, you were laying down your fastest lap tonight, missed a pole by 0.02 of a second.
Yeah, I've been bitten by the 2 tire thing, and I figured, at that point, what I would have done was taken 2 if I was in his position, just because it would have been my opportunity to leapfrog. So I kind of just gambled and assumed that he would take 2 as well, knowing how good 2 tires typically is late race on these things. And I'm always one to shy away from it. I just knew at the time the way the race was going, it was between me and him as far as the pace was concerned. But I didn't want to be beat by someone who was, like gambling from 4th or 5th. And so 4 tires always takes a lot longer to fire off. It was definitely a little looser out there, which was fine for me. But yeah, I finally did a gamble that I'm not normally accustomed to, and it did exactly what I needed to do for the time period. We only had a couple laps to do it, so low fuel, took 2 tires, and kind of went out there and tried to run as hard as I could, and hopefully making sure that his 4 tires weren't that much better. But I've seen it too many times work, especially against me, so I had to try it.
Yeah, it was very surreal to see the lap times, how it went from, I think your first lap was obviously the first lap slowest because you're just getting a green flag. Next time around, you ran I think it was a 29.90. Then you came back and ran an 89. Then it was an 87. And I think that was about your fastest. And after that, it fell back to a 29 flat as you came across the start-finish line. But still, great job tonight, because this is a track that, and I even seen you do it tonight, and tell me I'm wrong, you got a couple of little stripes up there against that wall. So it's not, this tonight was good proof of how tough Darlington really is, even on iRacing.
Yeah, the tricky thing is normally Darlington, you slip and slide around, but this particular setup and the way the track was only like 80 degrees, which is, ice cold. The tires didn't seem like they really fell off, speed-wise a lot, considering what it normally does. And so you're kind of pushing entry a lot to carry speed, knowing that the tires aren't really going to be a factor as much, right? I mean, yes, you can burn them off, but you can get away with driving a little harder. So definitely, when my right front was a little too hot, I pushed a little bit too much on entry into one, got into the wall a little bit. But yeah, it was a little interesting. I definitely didn't expect it to be that tight or that gripped up the entire race. I mean, I don't think I ever felt loose until I took 2 tires, which, I tried. It never really happened. But yeah, man, like, hats off to Pedro. Like I said, he's amazing. He's a really, really good driver, a really, really good person. So I really enjoy racing him. I mean, the start of the race was pretty hardcore, man. We were side by side bumping and all that fun stuff. But I always enjoy racing him. So hopefully he can come back for some more, because I know what I'm going to get out of it with him. And I think he enjoys it too.
Now, one other driver, I think you knew what you were going to get out of him. I got to go back to the first part of this race, as your friendly rival, the Tide Ride of Richard Beasley. There was one part where you were about 1.8 seconds ahead, 2 seconds ahead of Pedro, and then all of a sudden Pedro was on your back bumper, and I couldn't help but see who was in front of you. And I'm like, okay, I know they hang out in the same team name channel, so that's where Pedro and Richard are going to help each other. I understand that thing. But then I thought about the rivalry. I'm like, well, ain't this some stuff here?
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I saw him again. It's turning type corners, braking, not full throttle. He gets, at first I thought he pit. When I first caught him, I thought, okay, he short pit, and then I didn't know he actually never short pitted, and that was just his pace. And I was like, okay, Beasley, bless your heart. But coming to him, it was. I'm gonna have to talk to him, because when I had a pretty big run, because I was setting him up to pass him on the inside, and then as soon as he came off of 2, he just like hung a left, and I was like, okay, well, that's not gonna work. So he definitely cost me. I think it was like 3 to 4 tenths, which I get it. I'm kind of like the lone soldier out there doing my own thing, and I understand who I'm racing, and I'm not gonna have the easiest time getting past some people. But yeah, I think he was just not really in his element. He was thinking college football. Super Speedway's coming up in a couple of races, so I think his focus was elsewhere. But like I said, he did a good job. He didn't wreck. So, but I definitely have to let him know, like, when cars are faster, just hold your line and they'll get by you. There's no need to kind of swerve around and cause some issues. So, yeah, I can bless his heart.
The only thing that fell quicker than he did was the Atlanta Braves season.
Yeah, I hope they did well. Makes me happy. He always chides me about how bad the Nationals are, but every player he's got is either hurt or sucking. So he's back to reality a little bit. I don't think he's even caring about baseball. He's one of those people. He's just gonna go straight to
bandwagon
football. Yeah, he's gonna go to Tua and wait for Tua to get concussed or something like that, and then he'll go to Clemson. Like, he's just it's a rotation throughout the year. So we'll see how he's doing in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I had fun. I still lapped him, so that's all that matters.
There you go. Send some shout outs, bud.
Shout outs. Rev Grips, again, my buddy Brandon Amar. Want to thank all you guys. I mean, the drivers did an amazing job tonight, right? 140 something laps of greens. That's pretty amazing. Joy for putting up with everybody. You guys for putting on the broadcast. My buddy Kenny, who I lapped, I think, in a race similar to this at Richmond. So I'm going to go back and watch the replay of myself and him racing at Richmond to get some tips to see how I did that, so I can be prepared for next week, which is Richmond, one of my favorite tracks. But yeah, everyone did a great job. Appreciate everybody. Put on a good race, and hopefully we can keep it rolling.
There you go, man. Great job tonight. Congratulations. And we'll see you we'll see you in 2 weeks, actually.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good. You too. Kevin King, the winner here tonight at the Darlington Raceway in the Southern 200, as he gets his 9th straight win here in the series, and you heard him very complimentary of Pedro and the way he ran him, keeping him honest the whole entire night. And obviously it was a two-man show here this evening, Kev. But I can't help but second what he said there about the field tonight. We got the caution there at lap 4, and then we went all the way to 10 laps to go before we saw the second caution here tonight. So credit those guys. Remember, these guys had 12 cautions back in May, and then to only have 2 tonight. Now, granted, the track was very grippy tonight. A lot of people seem to like the setup, so they were able to go out there and race. But you still got to remember, this track is pretty narrow, and it's very hard to go in there side by side, and people can make mistakes, knock the wall down, do whatever. But they did their part to keep out of trouble and get a good finish.
Yeah, I think I'm stuck on the fact that there's a meme right in the middle of all that when he told Richard Beasley, bless his heart.
Hey, I know what that really means in Southern term. What that really means, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. I just couldn't let that slip by. No, it was an outstanding race. This track is so hard to master. And again, a great job by a bunch of different drivers showcasing that in the long run, when you have to race the track and race the tough competition, a couple of these guys made the call tonight. Some great finishes for some drivers who were looking for a turnaround of the season. And, what are you going to say about Kevin winning again? Just amazing. Is rough next week, right? But we head to Richmond, and I can only imagine how fast he's going to be there, given what he said.
Yeah, Richmond, obviously another fun track. Obviously, the real life race here in a couple weeks, I think, is going to be very interesting as they try the option tire here. We don't have that, no pun intended, option to do that in iRacing, but that'd be kind of cool to see. But as I look at Richmond, have we been there this season? We've done so many races. I'm looking through the schedule. We did not go to Richmond earlier this season, so this will be the one trip here for the night race coming up here on August 12th. So we have, when it's all over with tonight, and I'll show you the point standings really quickly here. We have, September 30th is the last race of the regular season, which is Kansas Speedway. So we are looking at all of 7 races after tonight before the playoffs begin, and the point standing is going to look a lot different now because the drop weeks are coming into play now for these guys that have missed more than 4 races. So you see Cody Giles, he has now fallen out of that 20th spot to 26. Mark Jorgensen jumps into 20th now officially as he is now 6 positions up. But look right here between 19th and 20th. There is a 52-point gap. So if this were to somehow stay the same, we could go to Kansas in that final race and have 1 spot left in the playoffs. Which would be that 20th position. So that's very interesting to see right now. So obviously with the way the drops are all set up and the way the racing is going to work, it's going to change a lot. Unfortunately, with so many drops in there, it's going to really become unpredictable of how to say, okay, this guy needs to do this to get there or whatever, because you got to go back and look at the worst 4 finishes of each car when it's all over with. So it's going to become very tough, but it's going to become very fun and should be a good one to watch coming up here in 2 weeks. But we'll take next Monday off. We'll come back Sunday of this week. We will be on the air at the playoff race at Las Vegas, the beginning of the final round for the 8 drivers going for the championship in the Xfinity Series. It'll be the only race you will see on the Captain Esports Network until the following Wednesday. So we're actually off the rest of the week. Going to go spend some time out of town with the family and stuff, and come back on Sunday and ready to go from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But Kev, appreciate it, man, as always, and go enjoy your time off. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
You too. Yes, sir. Big thanks to nc811.org. Of course, we appreciate everything they've done. Of course, you might have heard a couple drivers say the announcement about them not coming back next season, but just know they're always appreciated for what they do. They've done a lot for not only this Cup Series, but for the Xfinity Series the last 3 years. And we appreciate Ann and what everybody there at nc811.org does. Appreciate Joey Jatina for Sim500, of course, allowing us to broadcast as always, all the viewers and more. Just everybody. Appreciate what they do, and for Kevin England every week for putting up with me in the booth. Other than that, let's head out. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and the rest of your week. And always remember, this isn't just a game. It's iRacing. See ya!
copyrighted broadcast may not be reproduced, reused, or retransmitted in any form without the authorized written consent of Captain Esports Network. Captain would like to thank all of his loyal fans for your continued support, and he hopes you enjoyed today's broadcast.
The following is a special presentation. From the Captain Esports Network.